torture and persecution. The acceptance of Islam by Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh had a significant effect on the handful of Muslims of Makkah, who till now had observed secrecy in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their spirit and courage had risen to such an extent that they risked going out of Darul Arqam to preach Islam. Remember we did this last week
Yeah.
when Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh, when he accepted Islam, everyone was so happy. They were shouting Allahu Akbar, because Umar radiallahu anh is a very brave person, and everyone was happy. Now we can openly worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Makkah, right? So now they decide that we will come out from Darul Arqam, the house of Hazrat Arqam radiallahu anh. So before they were sitting in the house of, they were sitting at Darul Arqam, and they were giving the meetings about about Islam and about the teachings of Islam at this place. But now they decide we will go outside and then we will talk about Islam, because now we are brave, and Umar radiallahu anh was with him, was with was has accepted Islam. That's why, okay. The Quraysh tried to bribe Rasulullah to forego Islam, and in exchange for gift of wealth or anything he would like. So what happened actually, when Quraysh people, when they saw Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is spreading Islam so fast, so they try to give bribe to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They want to make a deal with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they start saying, like, if we will give you money, or if we will give you some gifts and whatever you want, like, we will give to you, and for that reason what you're gonna do, you stop spreading Islam. But they failed to pursue him to agree to anything that would be harmful to Islam. With Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh and Sayyidina Hamza radiallahu anh now fully united into the fold of Islam, the Quraysh turned to fortune and persecution of the lowest degree and of the most brutal kind. Actually, what happened when Quraysh first decided, okay, we will give some bribe to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and we will try to stop him. But when they realized, oh, we are failed, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not ready to take any kind of gifts, any kind of wealth, anything from us, and he doesn't want to harm Islam. Then on the other side, on the other hand, Umar radiallahu anh and Hamza radiallahu anh was fully united, right? And Quraysh, now they have no other option than torturing Muslims. They have no other option than persecution of the lowest degree, and they start doing very wrong to the people who were Muslim. Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu anh, the slave of Umayyah bin Khalaf, was laid flat on his back on hot sand. Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu anh was one of the Sahabi, one of the companion of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was basically a slave. He was a slave, and the person whom he was slave, his name was Umayyah bin Khalaf. So normally what he did, because he was a slave, so normally what he did, when he came to know that, okay, Bilal radiallahu anh has accepted Islam, so he asked Bilal radiallahu anh to lay down on a hot sand, because Makkah weather is very, very hot, and the sand of Makkah is very, very hot. In afternoon, it's really hot. So he asked him to lay down on his back on that hot sand, and hot, heavy stones were placed on his chest, and he was beaten while his hands were tied behind his back. So normally how they torture Bilal radiallahu anh, they tie his hand on the back and they ask him to lay down on a hot sand, and then they put one more hot heavy stone on him just to make him more punished. for embracing Islam. Sayyid Osman radiallahu anh, a rich and prosperous man of the Banu Umayyad tribe, was tied with ropes by his uncle and beaten and tortured. Sayyidina Usman radiallahu anh was a very rich and prosperous man. Usman radiallahu anh is a third caliph of Islam as well, right? So he was also from Banu Umayyah. Banu Umayyah was a tribe, right? He was also from Banu Umayyah. So they tie him with rope. His uncle normally, when he came to know, like, okay, Usman also accepted Islam, so they tie his hand and start torturing Usman radiallahu anh. So basically, you are now learning how many Sahaba were get tortured. There were so many, but they are just pointing few. Bilal radiallahu anh, Usman radiallahu anh. They are talking about one more. Sayyidina Zubair bin al-Awwam radiallahu anh was rolled on a mat and forced to inhale smoke until he feels suffocated. Sayyidina Abu Zar Ghaffari, the fourth one. So how many you have learned so far? Bilal radiallahu anh, Usman radiallahu anh, Zubair ibn Awam radiallahu anh, and now you are learning about Abu Zar Ghaffari radiallahu anh. Abu Zar Ghaffari is the same person who, when Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam migrated to Medina, he was the person who Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked the camel, okay, wherever you will stop, I will stay in that house. So he was the person. Said Abu Zar Ghaffari radiallahu anh was the person. Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam stayed in his house. Belonged to the Ghaffar tribe. His tribe name was Ghaffar. Like they are telling us that every single tribe is giving torture to the person who are embracing Islam. So Ghaffar tribe he was a tribe of Medina. On hearing of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he traveled all the way from Medina to meet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on their very first meeting. Sayyidina Abu Zar radiallahu anh accepted Islam. When Abu Dhar Ghaffari radiallahu anh came to meet Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam from Medina, in first meeting he embraced Islam and with joy of Islam in his heart. He went to the Kaaba and recited the kalima and an ayah of Quran in a very loud and clear voice. The Quraysh who were present at the Kaaba immediately sat upon him and beat him unconscious. Abu Dhar Ghafari radiallahu anh, he came from Medina and
Yeah,
when he accepted Islam, so he went in the Khani Kaaba and then he started reading the Kalma Shahadat very loud. La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. As soon the Quraysh heard that he is reading very loud the Kalima, Quraysh attacked on him and then beat him so much that he became unconscious. This much he got beaten. Sayyidina Abbas radiallahu anh, one more person who was not a Muslim as yet, recognized Sayyidina Abu Zar Ghaffari radiallahu anh being from the tribe that Quraysh bought dates, and Sayyidina Abbas stopped Quraysh from assaulting him further. So when they were beating Abu Zar Ghaffari radiallahu anh, one person, his name was Sayyidina Abbas, when he saw that people are beating someone, he entered, he looked, he is Abu Zar Ghaffari, so he said, oh, this person is from my tribe, why you are beating him? So they said, okay, he became Muslim and he was reciting Kalma, so we are just torturing him. So he said, okay, just leave him on my behalf and don't torture him further. This saved Sayyidina Abu Zar Ghaffari radiallahu anhu's life, and he returned to his home and more determined Muslim in spite the torture inflicted upon him. He came back home to Medina, but as soon he returned, he didn't stop practicing Islam. He was a very good Muslim, even though people were beating him. There was one more person, Sayyidina Ammar radiallahu anh. His father, Sayyidina Yasir radiallahu anh, and his mother, Sayyidina Sumayya radiallahu anh, had embraced Islam. There was one more family. They are talking about one more family. The father name was Yasir, mother name was Sumayya, and son name was Ammar. So you know what happened? They embraced Islam. Abu Jahl, when he came to know that they embraced Islam, he went there and he killed Sumayya radiallahu anh with a sharp spear in such a shameful manner that there is no parallel of such torture in the history. He killed her. Abu Jahl also took beastly delight in beating a slave lady, Sayyidina Zanira radiallahu anh, in such a way that she became totally blind. Abu Jahl beat Zanira radiallahu anha this much that she became blind. This much she got beaten. Some helpless Muslim like Sayyidina Kabab bin Arith radiallahu anh was tied and pushed into a flaming fire. They put a flaming fire, and then Sayyidina Kabab bin Arith, they tied him and pushed him on a fire. So these are the few tortures. There were so many, but in this book you are just reading few people names who got tortured after embracing Islam. What lesson we are learning from this? The lesson we are learning from this this chapter, that whatever happened, the faith is very important for a Muslim. Don't feel scared if someone will say you that I will kill you, you leave Islam, don't follow Islam, because we follow Islam for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If anyone want us to leave it, are we allowed to leave Islam just for anyone, just to make anyone happy? Hmm? Tell me, just to make anyone happy, we are allowed to leave Islam? Yes or no?
Can you say it out louder?
Okay, I am saying that if someone said, okay, leave Islam, so are we allowed to leave Islam to make someone happy?
No.
We are not allowed to make it.
It's
We
it's
are
like
not,
a bad it's like super bad if
yeah.
you leave us.
So we are not allowed to leave Islam, and you are learning so many examples of different Sahaba and Sahabiyat radiallahu anhum ajma'in, that they faced tortured, badly tortured, but they never said that okay, we are ready to leave Islam. They never leave Islam. Okay, so you learn about the story of Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu an, how he got tortured on a hot sand. Usman radiallahu an, how he was tied with a rope and tortured. You learn about Sayyidina Zubair bin Awam. People, roll him in a mat and then ask him to inhale the smoke, and he feels suffocated. And Abu Zar Ghafari radiallahu anh, he was in Medina, and how people tortured him. And Sayyidina Ammar and his family, like Sayyidina Yasir radiallahu anh, his family, and Sayyidina Sumayya radiallahu anh, he got tortured with Abu Jahl. And then Abu Jahl killed Sumayya radiallahu anh. Abu Jahl killed Sayyidina Yasir radiallahu anh. And in the same way, you learn Sayyidina Kabbab bin Arith radiallahu anh were tied and pushed in a flaming fire. Okay? So, so there are a few questions, inshallah, we will see. Since the beginning of the Islam, Muslim preached openly. From the beginning of the Islam, Muslim were preaching openly, or they were just hiding themselves in a place and talking about Islam. Hmm? True or false?
I think false.
Yeah, it's a false, because they were not preaching Islam openly. Okay, Sarah, I cannot hear you. Darul Arqam was used as a Islamic learning center. What was the purpose of Darul Arqam? Was it a Islamic learning center?
Oh. Uh,
Yes. Okay, it was a Islamic learning center. Okay, Darul Arqam was used as Islamic learning center. Okay, bribes were offered to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to give up Islam. People offered bribe and gifts and other stuff to Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they asked to leave Islam. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Quraysh used only one kind of torture. They tortured only one way, or they tortured different. They used different types to torture.
Different kinds.
Different kinds. What were the kinds?
The kinds were like one was like what was it called? I forgot the name. I think.
Mm-hmm. Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu
Yeah.
anhu was a slave. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a slave. Okay. And what kind of punishment he was having?
That to leave Islam.
Yeah, to leave Islam. Okay, write one fact of each of the following. Sayyidina Abbas radiallahu anh, how he got tortured.
He got tortured by because he was a Muslim, and then people didn't want him to be a Muslim.
Very good.
So
What about
that's how.
Sayyidina? Yeah, and what about Sayyidina Bilal? Sarah, I cannot hear you. What about Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu anh? Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu anh?
He, I think
He got tortured by
he got tortured by like non-Muslim people.
non-Muslim and people, and what kind of torture he was having? They asked him to lay down
To
on a
leave
hot sand.
Islam. To leave Islam.
Oh, but what kind of torture they were giving? They were asking him to lay down on a hot sand.
And then they put like stones on him, like heavy.
Yeah, they put.
Yeah, and they put a heavy hot stone on him. And what about Sayyidina Zanira? What they did with her?
Uh, I think they tied her up.
No, they torture her in a way that she became blind. Okay. And what about Sayyidina Usman radiallahu anh? Sayyidina Usman radiallahu anh was a very rich person, but his uncle beat him a lot, right?
Yeah, but but he was like trying to torture people because like he had a lot of money.
He had a lot of money, even though he has money, but when he embraced Islam, his uncle tortured him a lot. His uncle warned him not to embrace Islam. What about Zubair bin al-Awwam radiallahu anh? What kind of torture he was having with other people?
He was his torture was like he was like he was like having a torture about like he was like getting like tied up and he was getting forced to leave Islam, but he didn't.
He was rolled up by a man, and they asked him to inhale the smoke, and he get suffocated by that smoke. Okay. So inshallah, keep all these things in mind, and this always, give the boost to all of us to embrace Islam. And once we say we are Muslim, we should steady fast. We should not shake our iman, our faith for any reason, and we should always hold the Islam, and we should always stand by with Islam. Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Okay. So now, do you guys have any questions?
not for
No. And Sarah, you?
No.
No? Okay. So we will keep the class till here. If you have any question, you can ask me, and inshallah just revise this topic, okay? And keep everything in mind, okay? So I am quickly revising what kind of torture we learned and why they were torturing Muslims. Because when Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh and when Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh embraced Islam and people start accepting Islam, so the Quraysh start thinking, if we will give little money to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we will ask them not to talk about Islam. But when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam refused taking money, so they start giving torture, different kind of torture to different people. So you learn about different kind of torture, about Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu anh, Sayyidina Osman radiallahu anh, Sayyidina Zubair bin Awam radiallahu anh, and Sayyidina Ammar radiallahu anh, and you learn about Sayyidina Qabib ibn Arith radiallahu anh. You learn about Sayyidina Yasir, Sayyidina Sumayya radiallahu anh, how he tortured. And or on the top of that, Sayyidina Zanira, they tortured in a way that she became blind. Okay. So inshallah, keep this story in mind, because this story gave faith to all the Muslims. Okay, to be steadfast on your kalima, to steadfast on your religion, inshallah. Okay. Okay. So do you have any question?
No.
Okay, all right.
No.
So inshallah, we will keep the class till here. Share all these stories, whatever you are learning, with your family. So inshallah, they also came to know what you have learned in the class. Okay. Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi.
Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi.
Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika.
Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika.
Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta.
Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta.
Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.
ونستغفرك ونتوب إليه.
سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون.
سبحان ربك
سبحانك
عما يصفون.
وسلام على المرسلين.
وسلام على
المرسلين.
الحمد لله رب العالمين.
والحمد لله رب العالمين.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السلام
الله
عليكم
حافظ.
ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله حافظ.
الله حافظ.